Start. Holy crap, we're starting early. Well, 15 minutes late, but still a minute early from the late. So, yeah.
That's early for Angleton Standard Time.
I know, right? Yeah. All righty, kids. We're going to be talking about something that happened. This is a poster or a thumbnail, I guess, nowadays. No longer a movie poster if you're doing streaming. For a movie on Disney Plus. It's just Stan Lee. It's a Stan Lee documentary. I saw it. It's entertaining. It's enjoyable. It is not challenging anything, really. As somebody who's done my own documentary, by the way, one of the best and most viewed videos on this was Jack Kirby. I did the life of Jack Kirby. Well, my brother was the one who recorded it. Started off in the Golden Age, Marvel Age, DC Age, and then we went to this. Jack Kirby versus Stan Lee. See, this is a movie about Stan Lee that basically it fillets him. It's just, oh, Stan Lee's the greatest, blah, 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 yada, yada.
It paints him in the Bob Kane light, what I've been hearing.
There are elements. We're going to talk about this, and I really do want to go in a little bit of depth. I don't hate Stan Lee, nor am I mad at Stan Lee. I do think that he's done some underhanded stuff, but who hasn't? But to me, Stan Lee was the guy that greeted me on Saturday mornings when I'm watching Fantastic Four, or if I'm watching the Incredible Hulk cartoon or Amazing Spider, face front, fellow true believers. And, you know, and then he would set up the narration for whatever cartoon. So I'm not against Stan Lee at all on any of this. But Marvel did this documentary, and it's all about how Stan Lee created the Marvel Universe.
Yeah,
and they just briefly mention anybody else, like Ditko doing Spider-Man, or, of course, the big one, Jack Kirby. And that set off Jack Kirby's family. So I found this article here on Bleeding Cool. Excuse me, let me get my reading my reading glasses. Yeah, I don't know.
Hold on, I get my smoker's jacket on.
There you go. The Jack Kirby estate, which represents certain members of the Rosalind Kirby Trust, has now issued their statement about the documentary. The Noah Stan Lee documentary is another example of regurgitating falsehoods and repeating.
Sounds like Disney and Stan Lee don't want you talking.
Of course. Oh, am I?
You were roboting, and then it.
I had no problem. Okay,
you see that, guys? Even Disney's trying to take every mention of this down, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let me get back to it here.
I can hear every painful minute, so I don't know what your problem is.
Okay, the Noah Stan Lee documentary is another example of regurgitating falsehoods and repeating long-debunked ideas into the creation of these beloved Marvel characters. Jack and Stan were an amazing team whose combined talents ushered in an entire universe of superheroes that have inspired generations. The Jack Kirby estate has and will continue to ensure that comic book and pop culture fans understand the importance of Jack in the creation of the Marvel Universe. This continuation to push a challenge narrative hurts the legacy of Stan Lee as well, and continues the disregard towards Jack in creation of these iconic characters. It truly pains the family to once again have to fight to ensure Jack's legacy and his global contribution to the comics industry. Jack Kirby was more than an artist. He was a visionary and a creative force whose contributions to the creation of many Marvel characters goes way beyond putting pencil to paper. Stan Lee will rightfully be remembered as a champion of comic books, creative powerhouse, and figurehead of one of the world's most cherished brands. It is now time for the world to discover the other creative force, I would say forces, behind their favorite superheroes. The Jack Kirby estate invites you to learn more about Jack's version of how these superheroes were created and his inspiration for doing so. Jack loved his fans and created for them. Creating for them was not just a job, it was his passion. There are many resources that now add historical facts that are finally changing the one-sided narrative that has been pushed throughout the years. We look forward to one day having a documentary that tells both sides of the amazing story. Until that time, we'll continue to ensure Jack's legacy. So, yeah, the family wasn't too happy with it. And I got to tell you something. I've got two I've got 2 books that are the history of Jack Kirby. One's a little more, this is why he, you know, it's like annotations on his art. And one is the story of Jack Kirby from childhood to the point he died. And one thing that got me as far as this whole creation, the Marvel Universe and everything is he was a bit of a hippie. A lot of people like to point out, oh, he went to war. He's like, no, he was kind of a hippie. And one of the reasons why a lot of his panels, a lot of his backgrounds look so wonky is because he didn't want comic book artists. He didn't want comic book art to be restricted to the realistic. If you're speaking of the fantastic, if you're drawing the fantastic, then you can make fantastic art. And I don't mean just in quality, but of course, bizarreness. So if you look in the backgrounds, the Eternals or the New Gods or something like that, it always kind of looks a little bit off. And that's what he believed. He believed that comic book art doesn't have to be DC in the 60s. You could change things. You can make things look any way you want. Some people I know don't like Jack Kirby's art because it's kind of boxy. I think even if you get past that, the man knows how to draw a page. I don't remember that there was no mention of Jack Kirby to answer cartoons, but I do think it was just kind of glossed over. Stan Lee with partner Jack Kirby, one of those kind of things. When we know for a fact that Jack Kirby has been involved in so many different heroes. Some would say, of course, he was the creator of some of the things that Jack Kirby or that Stan Lee takes credit for. Stan Lee was writing so many books at the time that he would basically say, okay, we're going to have a team of superheroes and we're going to have them fight a villain. I think I want to make him where he controls metal. He's like a human magnet. And it's going to take place on an army base. Jack Kirby goes away. He comes back and he's got everybody drawn. He's got everything laid out. The word and thought bubbles are there. And Stan Lee puts in the dialogue. That's the Marvel way, if you basically. And so he was mad that he didn't get the credit. He was not given the credit that he deserved versus Stan Lee. Stan Lee was the voice of Marvel for a long time. Like I said, Stan Lee was the guy who woke you up for cartoons and such. So. Maranya is saying that he did give credit to both Kirby and Ditko. Once again, I didn't want to say he just brushed it over, but this is what the family is all about. No, it doesn't talk about all about them. They are called the Three Musketeers for a reason. What are we saying? I won't swear, but Disney is effed up. But there's the thing that has me. And by the way, feel free to jump in if you guys have a thought there, RDV or LK.
I'm sorry. I'll let you continue your thought while I create my thumbnail for tomorrow.
Okay, cool. One thing though that I think is weird is it wasn't but like 2 years ago that Disney was trying to steal Jack Kirby as a Disney legend.
Well, they didn't try to. I mean, they did. You know, so I mean, here's a couple things. You know, again, but it's not surprising that people are criticizing. I mean, first of all, this was to celebrate Stan Lee's 100th birthday. Okay. So it's a celebratory documentary. In a celebratory documentary, you're not going to have the negative things, and it's going to be highlighted on Stan Lee. And the other thing is the reason why Stan Lee is the shadow that over Marvel, if you want to call it, is because he was there the entire time. Joe Simon had a dispute with Martin Goodman and left. Jack Kirby left multiple times, and Stan Lee was the one that was always there.
But while Jack Kirby was gone in the 1950s, Marvel was a copycat house. If Dell was selling westerns, if DC was selling westerns, Marvel's going to do westerns.
Yeah,
if they put photos on their cover instead of drawing, they're going to put photos on their cover.
Well, that was
Stan Lee
Martin Goodman's
didn't exactly
philosophy.
break a lot of new grounds.
Well, that specifically though, that came from Martin Goodman. That was his philosophy. Yeah. So as I said, I've been reading, and you can pick this up in your finest ollies, probably. You know, and it's interesting
I've got another one around here.
Yeah,
so.
because it ends in, I think, 2018 or 2019. So basically before the call it the downfall of the MCU. But anyways, it talks about what Martin Goodman's philosophy is he would go kind of pick the brains of the other publishing houses and see what was popular and what was working. And he had no problem changing on a dime because he tried to keep the staff as small as possible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when he saw that Westerns were really popular, boom, we're going to go do 5 or 6 Western books and keep those going until the sales start to drop. And then once those start to drop, we'll cancel them, and we're going to look and see what's the next thing that's hot.
Now, I was playing devil's advocate on that part. Trust me, I know about this. But that is, of course, what led up to the fabled golf game, which led to the creation of the Fantastic Four. I want a superhero story, and Stan Lee was tired of writing the same. Stan Lee did not like that direction. He wanted to do something better, and that's why when Jones says, well, if you're going to quit, do the story you want, and we got Fantastic Four of it. Finest Ollie's, mine won't have it. Oh, okay. Wait, you got that book at an Ollie's?
Yeah.
Well, I got to go look at my Ollie's. Yeah. I think my Ollie's, I think the manager of Eric's Ollie's has now started taking over mine because they haven't had much of anything.
And this book has been in my Ollie's for months. So actually, I mean, if you're interested, if you can't find it at yours, let me know, because
please. I'm just going to say it right now. Absolutely yes.
Copies.
Absolutely yes.
Imagine
go ahead. Sorry, RDB.
I was just going to say, imagine if he just tears it in half right in front of you.
I bought it for you, huh? Here you go. You high shipping charging mother.
Well, you know, I gotta rip the front cover off, so you know it's.
Because of so you could send it back and get the money. Hello to Eloise. Let's see, Wretched Stan Lee, the great credit stealer. The only thing that guy does revise some of the artist stories. That's not true. He did right, and they're right to give him the credit that he does. That he did. Yeah. But there is more and more information coming out about how much Jack Kirby has done. It really is a 50-50. There's no Stan Lee came up with this great idea and Jack Kirby, or at least there's as much of Jack Kirby came up with a concept, and then the artist went away and created that concept, brought that concept to life. That is the big argument with Spider-Man and Steve Ditko, that he goes, I want a guy with spider power. So, okay, here you go. We'll do this. We'll do Aunt May. We'll do, okay, here you go. Everything about Spider-Man is now done. But that was the Marvel way.
Yeah.
Watch the Stan Lee interview with Jonathan Ross. Lee said he gave him co-credit. Steve Ditko was saying, bullshit, I created Spider-Man. So anytime Stan Lee would go, oh, he created some of it. Yeah, Stan, he was co-creator. And every time Stan Lee would say it, I saw one interview where every time he said it, it was like, he was like, oh yeah, we both created Spider-Man. He was co-creator. You know, it's like, okay, let's slide him right here.
It's kind of hearsay, but you can say like, yeah, he drew the appearance, but what to say that maybe Stan said, I want this kind of design, you know? He didn't put that input in there. But all I know is that Ramita improved it.
But I guess the big question, this is the part of this that I've found interesting, was what do you consider creation? Like to take another hero a little bit later in Marvel's history, a young Rob Liefeld comes in, doesn't have a personality, doesn't have a character, doesn't have anything about this guy other than the fact that he wears a lot of pouches and guns. He lays it down and goes, oh, that guy's name's Cable.
It's kind of like, to me,
I don't know if it was Simmons, I forget the writer, but then the Marvel writers who had New Mutants and so forth gave him a personality. created who he was other than a picture. So, is it Rob Liefeld? Or is it the Marvel writers? Or is it a combination of the two that created Cable?
I was going to say, for me, when people bring up like the difference between Ditko Spider-Man and Romita Spider-Man, to me, it's kind of like the Harley Quinn situation. John Gore Murphy separated, the two, and like cleverly. I always thought that it's like, we have the Harley we have today is not the Harley we got in the beginning.
Yeah.
Same with the Ditko Spider-Man, totally different character. Even Peter Parker, the way they had him, and Eric's talked. We've talked about this. Eric, I'm sure you've talked to Eric as well. How different Spider-Man would be if Ditko wouldn't have quit, and Romita would have kept on. I'm just saying that. But yeah, as far as creation goes, yeah, Ditko, he created that version, and then Romita created a new version.
Yeah, but characters evolve. Batman isn't the same Batman from the 1940s. Creators evolve over time.
Well, he's not.
You look like you have something to say there, El.
Well, I was going to say this. I know this kind of came up a few weeks ago in some other different chats, and I think the best way again to look at it, and you were going that way, is kind of the co-creator role. Now, it's normal for people to give credit to the writer because you're thinking, well, you're writing the character. But especially with comic books, the image is just as important. And, so I think definitely it's kind of a co-creation unless there's something specific where the writer is saying, no, the person needs to look exactly like this, blah, blah, blah. But usually it's some combination of the writer develops some characteristics, the artist comes in and creates some designs and fleshes out what the character is supposed to look like and reactions, and you've got a blend. I saw Eric's comment in there. T. Franklin.
T. Franklin created everything. Just ask her.
That's a whole nother story.
Why are you biting my neck? What the hell is that all about? Huh? You lunged for it like a freaking vampire. What's your problem?
He's thinking it's like a whale. It's got blubber. It'll keep him warm.
I guess maybe that's it.
He's building a nest.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me grab some of these because I think the comment section is really good here. What's in Ollie's closest? Okay. Watch the okay, we read that one. That's why Ultimates is back, because they don't have to pay anymore for the team who did the ideas and the art, and the executives never change. But they would, I guess, they may have to pay. I mean, still, Captain America's Captain America. So Joe Simon and Jack Kirby would have been owed something. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Let's see. It's not only Spider-Man, but also Black Panther. There's a lot of characters. Like I said, what I said about the X-Men, you can find that in the unauthorized history of Marvel Comics.
Yeah. Can I address something real quick? Cartoon
Address
Comics had to comment on there. So it's need to be specific. Copyright is you can't lose copyright if I'll say generally speaking. Now I'm sure there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, you can't lose copyright. There's a duration to it, and that's been one of the big arguments, and why finally Mickey Mouse is going to be in the public domain in 10 years or less.
They'll lawyer that shit up, and
they've tried, and Congress has rejected changing the copyright durations over the last several terms. So it looks like they're finally resigned to it. But again, if you watch some videos, there's a whole host of issues with it. I mean, for example, when Batman goes in the public domain in a few years, you're not going to be able to use like Adam West style Batman or Bruce Tinney style Batman. You're going to be limited to what the Batman looked like in 30.
You know what? Though we could do a lot of damage with that too.
You still could, but the things too is like then you're not going to use the Joker or anything. It's only what was like created in that detective. It's like 75. I think at first it was 75 years. Well, no, it was. Oh shoot.
In 1975, I thought they named it. I think it was 75 around there. They changed it.
It's gone through a bunch of iterations. Initially, I want to say it was 25 years, and then you could request to renew for another 25 years, and then it became 50, and then it became 75, then it became Life of the Creator plus X. And that's why it's kind of kept extending. But anyways, go back to that. So generally speaking, copyright you can't lose. Kind of what cartoons and comics is talking about is a trademark. So yes, trademark, if you don't use it within a certain period of time, will be considered falling, out of usage, and then it becomes up for grabs. Which is why you do have instances where, if you've ever had that time going like, oh wow, Marvel brought back a character I haven't seen in 10 years or 15 years.
Because they're trying to keep them.
Oftentimes that's why, is to protect a trademark. With it, because otherwise somebody else could, can create they'll have to create a completely different character.
So this is what we need you to do. I know I probably couldn't do it. I'm too white. I'm too male. I need one of our what the left would say person of color. Okay, need to get used to that term. I need one of you to go get a job at Marvel Comics, and I need you to just climb the ladder, be the head of Marvel Comics, and forget to do a Captain Marvel book for however long you need, so we could get freaking Shazam his name back. All right.
Yeah. So and then let me. So MARANYA, I would have to go look and see exactly what that lawsuit was, but so there's a couple things with copyright. There's the common law copyright. So if I go and create, a character, Stinkman, whatever. The moment I put him down on paper and I create him, I have a common law copyright on that. But if I want to enforce that to where prevent other people from, really using it and be able to get legal damages and so on, then you have to try and register that copyright with, a government, in this case being the United States. You'd have to register it with the U.S. Copyright Office. So again, I would have to kind of look and see what that whole lawsuit necessarily was about, and kind of the issues. And of course, again, everything's changed because now, if I create something, or England team creates something, you're bound by the copyright laws of 20 that are currently on the books in 2023. We're looking at, issues with, say a Batman or a Superman. You start with what the copyright rules were at the time that it was created.
So around that time in Batman, Hugo Strange should be entering public domain as well. I mean, that is that is, I'm trying to think of the older, like what exact era or how long are we talking? Are we just strictly talking like 1938, 1940? Oh, not, I'm sorry, 38 with Superman. Like 1940, 41, 42, which of course would also mean Wonder Woman is going to be.
Yeah. So I was just looking it up through DuckDuckGo, not using Google.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now it's beginning in 2034 is when Superman and Batman would enter the public domain.
Yeah, that's not my practical lifetime. So have a good time, kids.
Superman is January 1, 2034. Batman is January 1, 2035.
Tarzan's been in public for a while. So is the Shadow, the Phantom. They've been in public domain for a long while now.
Yeah. Conan is still owned by the family of the Edward Rice Burroughs. Tarzan right now is over at Dynamite. I think they have temporary rights right now. I'm not sure if it's public domain.
Well, their version of Tarzan. These things have been out they've been around for freaking ever. They should be in the public domain by now. But it would be certain versions of Conan. Like Marvel's Conan obviously has a copyright still going.
Yeah,
but you should be able to do some.
Yeah, for example, like Superman. If in fact we do reach January 1, 2034, and Superman does enter the public domain, you'd be able to create a character called Superman, but he's not going to be able to fly because he could only leap tall buildings in a single bound in Action Comics #1.
Well, he'll be able to fly because flight isn't a copyright thing. He won't be able to have that tiny little shield, or he won't be able to have the S shield. It has to be the tiny one. That would be going in. You would have Lois Lane and Perry White and the Daily Bugle Or
you're saying
really.
that he would be able to fly, but I guarantee you, DC's lawyers are gonna, and Warner's lawyers are gonna, throw down. And that's the other thing too that people have to realize is
that would be
Marvel and
easy.
DC are going to be throwing lawsuits around like crazy.
That would be easy to debunk, and that would be easy to be brought down because Human Torch was flying before Superman was.
Yeah.
So they can't copyright that. That if there was a copyright on the power of flight, that would be owned by
it's not a copyright on the power of the flight. It's a copyright of what is written for the character.
Mm-hmm.
And so because later on Superman was written in that, now he can fly, that became part of the character at a certain point. Prior to that, it wasn't part of the character.
I want to point out something. I just saw something. If you go back to the origins of Marvel Comics in the 1974 collection, Stan Lee talks about how the creation of Spider-Man was heavily influenced by, the Spider. For those who remember that? It was
the noir character.
Yeah, 1933 to 1943. His design of his costume, especially in the serials, how it had the web pattern. So you could say that if Ditko copied that, he's copied from another character, stealing part of their attire. So, I mean, it's like I said, everybody copies from everybody in hopes that nobody remembers.
Well, you change it just enough. DC Comics has a character called Solomon Grundy, who's a big, strong monster. Then Marvel makes the Hulk.
But the further that, when they went to Spider-Man Noir, that is the Spider costume with the guns. Mm-hmm. That literally is. Yeah.
Yeah, but by that time, the copyright on the Spider is up.
Sure. So I'm always curious. I mean, who owns the rights to that character? Was it the publishing, Popular Publications, or is it the family of Harry Seeger?
Well, that becomes a whole different issue. Initially copyright goes with whoever creates it, but if you're doing a work for hire, then the copyright and the rights are owned by the company that you created it for. Likewise, if you turn in and create something and then you sell it to a company, well, now the company owns that copyright.
Well, I do have to admit, when I asked who do you believe is the creator, I didn't think we would get into a big ass copyright conversation. I was really thinking, do you think it was the artist who created the image? Do you think it's the writer who creates the personality and maybe gives them extra things? Like a lot of people, myself including, believe that Bill Finger is more the creator of Batman than Bob Kane was.
Right, but there was a certain point. Well, I know Bill Finger died fairly early in life.
He died in the 70s.
Certainly before Bob Kane did, and Bill Finger was out, and it was Bob Kane that DC and then later Warner Brothers dealt with. But right away, Bob Kane had it in the contract that he was to be the only credited creator. That's why until Batman versus Superman, everything Batman had created by Bob Kane. Bill Finger, nowhere to be freaking found. But with Batman versus Superman, at least they now have, and you'll see it everywhere, that's not common. Well, I think even in comics now, that'll say Bob Kane with Bill Finger. So they at least got that. So it doesn't say and, but at least it says with. Hello to Joe, and let's see, we also got Ethereal Dragon in. What's up?
Getting back to our original topic, and I'll just say real quickly, my opinion is that the artist is pretty much solely the creator. Now, unless the writer may give input, but there's no verification of that unless they have recording somewhere where you witness somebody saying.
But the writer is the one that creates the story where the character is created.
The artist gives an image, the writer creates personality.
So he owns the. So the image is basically, you could say the character of Spider-Man, sure, the name and everything, the name and all that stuff, that's Stan Lee. But so it would be co-creator because the person who creates the art, the image, that could be used, that's Steve Ditko. But the problem is that I guess you told me before is that Steve Ditko didn't sign anything or something like that. So he waived rights. or was it Kirby that waived rights?
Yeah. Well, I would have to try and look it up, see if I can find it. But I think it might have been the Kirby lawsuit. One of the things that Marvel tried to claim as why the characters were created in a work for hire environment was, oh, well, you endorsed the back of your paycheck. Therefore, that meant you were doing a work for hire, and therefore everything that you created is ours.
Unfortunately, a lot of the lawsuits went to Marvel. I think some of them went because Marvel said, sure, here's a check, that kind of thing. Steve Ditko's family is not letting go. So we'll see. We'll see. Part of me wants him to get control of Spider-Man. Not him, of course, but part of me wants the estate to have Spider-Man now. I just want to see that Earth.
But even so, we all think if they could control away from Disney, maybe Spider-Man will be better. It could get worse. They could both have it. We don't know. We don't know I don't know what their politics are like, and if they, and it just tie up everything else as far as creating new comic books because they can't agree on stuff.
My whole take on this is very simple. Rob Liefeld created Cable because he is the one that created something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. Now, Wheezy, she grabbed it and she gave him personality, but the thing is as we've told, or as we've already said, a lot of characters are not the way they started. Wheezy took something that was there and she made him who he was. I don't know if it was Rob Liefeld or if it was Wheezy who made him Nathaniel Summers. So I don't know, because that would say, if he came in and, hey, that's Cable, that's the son of Cyclops, then okay, that's his connection. But it could be Wheezy who really, I think she just added everything that Cable is, but still, when it comes right down to it, it was Rob Liefeld that created something out of nothing.
And I think too, you need to kind of classify the difference between who created the character and who has created the iconic version of the character, or the most well-known version, because that is two separate issues. As you talk about, like Deadpool, was created by X, but it wasn't really fleshed out until Rob Liefeld or whoever else.
That doesn't mean that. If you by that logic, Daredevil wasn't created until the 1970s when Frank Miller took hold.
Well, no, I would say it was created by Daredevil was created by Stan Lee or whatever, but you could argue that the iconic version of Daredevil, or the one most people are familiar with, is the Frank Miller version.
And you know what? Now we're getting back into the whole the Bob Kane or Bill Finger of it. Daredevil was created by Stan Lee, and I'm trying to think who did the art. I don't.
Come on, Eric. I know you're hanging out.
Please, Eric, or somebody with a Google, please tell me who did the original art on issue number 1.
So I'm just.
But I know, was it Wally Wood? I think Wally Wood came a little bit later.
You guys.
But Wally Wood, when he really took hold in issue number 7, the one with the red costume, that's when he started bringing in a lot of what we know to be Daredevil that wasn't there already. I'm sorry, RDV, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, you guys keep bringing up Wheezy, and I keep thinking of Plastic Man.
Oh, Wheezy? No, that's not Wang. That's Wheezy is an artist, or I'm sorry, Wheezy is a writer who definitely deserves more credit.
So, to back you up, though, I want to say...
just real quick. So according to Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, Daredevil is created by writer-editor Stan Lee and artist Bill Everett with an unspecified amount of input from Jack Kirby.
Which the winner here is Dark Admiral, who had that by about 2 or 3 minutes there. So thank you.
Yeah, so I would say, the writer does create the character, the name, the person, and all this stuff, in the very beginning. But whoever the artist should always get royalties, whatever that image is used. I don't care.
Oh, of course.
And then
I agree.
So therefore they are co-creators. There's not one created one and the other one creates. So if
now here's another one. And Green
Unless
Lantern.
he changes it.
Does Gardner Fox get creator credit for all of Green Lantern?
Well,
Like,
he created a certain Green Lantern though.
Yeah, I mean that it's like who did the Flash? My memory is just out
Well,
there.
Gardner Fox was on the Flash.
Yeah. Okay, so but
yeah, so that Flash Comics.
Yeah, because he created the Flash originally. Should he get some sort of credit on Barry Allen? And I'm not talking legal. I'm talking about, you know.
Well,
okay,
I'm saying
legally, I would say no.
Well, here comes the expert, Evil Black Hat, coming in. Because you keep
good.
leaving the door open.
He's my memory. Every time he's on, I lose a little bit more of my memory, and he can pick it up.
You know what it is? He just came out here and make old age jokes because Eric's not here. And you're
right. I'm the next one in. Okay. It's like Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing after he was Robin. Originally, creators of Dick Grayson or Kane and Finger, whoever created Nightwing, being Dick's alter. That would be Wolfman and Perez.
Yep.
Yeah, every time, yeah. Because if it's a different creator, when they call them Nightwing, different costume, it's still Dick Grayson, the person who created the Dick Grayson name, sure. And then his image when he's outside the costume. But in the costume, I would say whoever created that costume is a different person should also get royalties too. It's not just like it only goes to the original person who created Dick Grayson.
Yeah, but then the question comes: does Bill Finger and Bob Kane also get, because they created Robin? Do they get credit for Tim Drake?
Well, they created Dick Grayson. Yeah,
but they also created
Tim Drake.
Robin.
Okay, I see where you're going with it.
Robin alter egos. So if someone takes over, like Tim, Damian, or Jason, do they get credit for those?
No.
The Robin persona.
No.
Yeah.
I would
because
say
it's Robin.
I would say for the Robin persona, the name Robin, sure. Every time it's used, whether it's Tim Drake, but they should. But if it's just Tim Drake in a story and they're not calling him Robin, then they don't get any royalties from that comic.
I like the because to me this question is more than just a legal thing, and that's one of the. Are we talking about on a legal sense? I would have to say no, but.
I mean, that's my thing.
On a moral sense, should they say that?
Definitely no, because it's actually Warner Brothers and DC that own Robin, and so they're the ones that are choosing to use it to say, yeah, you can call, Damian Robin. They're using their rights as the copyright holders to say, yes, you can use the Robin name, and outfit for Damian. So therefore, Bill Finger and Bob Kane are never going to get royalties from that because they have no connection to it.
I put up a poll for the evening, and the poll is: should original creators get co-credit on legacy characters? Meaning, they called that girl X-23 Wolverine. Okay. Does Lynn Wine get credit, or at least some sort of co-credit?
So here's my thing:
that Wolverine, the Robin question, and so forth.
Can you imagine a Marvel and DC? Every person that created those characters, they'd have to consult each creator of those characters every time they want to use them in a story. It'd be a mess.
Right. And, well, which is why again it's now that they are all created under a work for hire contract. And I just want to kind of go back to the Ditko thing, because I know a lot of people are really hoping and praying somehow the Ditko estate's going to win and he's going to get control of Spider-Man. Again, understand, just as similar to the discussion about the public domain side of Batman and Superman. If I think the most favorable outcome to Ditko's estate would be, okay, yes, you get Spider-Man back, but understand you would only get the Spider-Man during the time that Ditko drew Spider-Man. So that's what the first 20 issues, 25 or
okay, so
33.
33?
33, okay.
Let's talk about what Steve Ditko gets.
And more importantly, too, I don't think that a court would then enjoin Marvel saying you can no longer create any Spider-Man books.
Okay, just for fun.
They would, create monetary damages that would basically create a perpetual license for Marvel to continue to make Spider-Man books.
Let's not just for fun now. What does Steve Ditko's family get to keep in 33 issues? They've got Spider-Man. They've got the
Stacy.
entire
Yes.
supporting cast. I don't know if Gwen Stacy's in there, right?
He
Uh,
gets Gwen Stacy, gets Harry, but doesn't get MJ.
That's right. We do well. She was a shadow before, wasn't she? A shadow before?
Yeah, they didn't.
There's no name and there's no. So it's just Mystery Girl. But he does. You do get Doc Ock. You get the Lizard. You get the Vulture. You get Green Goblin
Jameson.
still.
Jonah
Yeah,
Jameson.
the entire Daily Bugle cast. You could do a lot of freaking damage to Marvel and make a shit ton of money having that copyright.
Well, it'd be hilarious if as I say, because the way Marvel shelved Marvel comics, imagine if Ditko's family shelved Spider-Man comics.
But that to me is so minuscule in terms of could happen, and I still think it's a very uphill battle that the estate.
If it did happen, though, honestly, I wouldn't mind it because right now it's like, let the character rest in peace. You killed it 20 years ago with the One More Day crap, and you've been perverting it since then. Now with Mary Jane, now you can have Mary Jane with anybody else. I guess if you want to, you're already doing it.
I've got a different look on this. If you don't mind my jumping in on this one, I never read One More Day, but I don't think they killed Spider-Man. I think they locked him in a dungeon, and for the next 10 years, they let Dan Slott torture Spider-Man.
You know how you fix this? This thing was a damn clone the whole entire time.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I would love to get a job at DC writing Robin, Tim Drake, and I'll just have him wake up. Oh my gosh, what a horrible nightmare. Or I will have him beat the snot out of his boyfriend. We find out his boyfriend was a telepath who had put the suggestion into everybody's mind, including Batman. And Tim Drake is so mad about being violated that he beats the guy to death. And now Tim Drake is being chased by the Bat family, even though Tim Drake believes he's 100% in the right, which he should be, because here's the thing. And this is something that I don't think that this whole the wokesters in the gay community have really thought of. I'm sorry, but the whole freaking point of a lot of arguments is that you want to be who you are, and yet you write these characters like Tim Drake, who obvious aren't what you're writing them as. You're not writing Tim Drake as who he is. You're writing Tim Drake as who you want him to be.
I don't blame any of the gay community for what DC does. DC does this because they think that, maybe if we pander to people, they'll like it, but they don't even buy it. The few that do buy it are probably offended by it because it's so pandering. It's offensive.
Some of the weirdos want these bullshit fan fictions. Some of them
the internet
don't.
Ones. Yes.
Yeah, the internet ones. Like there are some that's been calling for this, and there are normal people like Joe Corallo. There's Josh from the Thinking Critical crowd. We have Dalton from our crowd. Yeah.
I'll say this, and Eric and Boyd's bringing up, the what if scenario that could work to bring Marvel and DC back to normal. If I ran Marvel, I would, in the Jim Shooter position, I would just start saying no. Nope. Nope. Hey, I got a great idea. Is it to make the character gay? Yeah. Nope. Give me a reason. Give me a narrative reason. And then maybe we'll talk. Well, you got to give me a narrative reason as to why a character who had been in love with the same female character for 30 years. Well, actually, no, he did have other girlfriends. But Tim Drake had girlfriends. Okay, so what's the narrative reason? Well, I think we need representation. You're fired.
This is how you solve that whole problem. If they want to pander to people, sure, make gay legacy characters if you want to.
Yeah, but then there's that thing with the whole Tim Sheridan debacle where you, Zach, all got. I think LK, did you get blocked in that thing as well?
I honestly don't remember.
When Tim Sheridan went up and is like, the new characters can't grow and have the same popularity as the old ones, so we have to change the old ones after his.
I remember that one.
And so we all mocked him, and then each of us got blocked, and we just went like, who can get blocked?
The shortcut. Oh, but
Yeah.
new characters aren't as popular as the old ones, though. Yeah, you fucking riding the coattails of standing on the shoulder of giants is the saying.
He is right though, because the original writers knew how to write North Star.
Yeah. Well, here's a name for you. Oh, nope. I was gonna give a popular character, but all of the popular characters, the new ones, are derivative of something else, isn't it? Miles Morales is in fact not Spider-Man. Riri Williams is not Iron Man.
She's called Ironheart.
The most original character of all of them is Kamala Khan, is Ms. Marvel. And she just took a name that wasn't being used at that time. But she's the most original.
Basically similar to Mr. Fantastic, so.
Yeah, but at least she isn't Captain Marvel Light. At least she isn't. She's not. She didn't have Carol Danvers' powers.
To be fair, though, she's got the same powers as Elongated Man, Plastic Man, and I'm sure four other.
Hey, still, she's not. Look, Riri Williams is Ironheart because they decided they needed an Iron Man. Miles Morales they try to make him into Spider-Man. Aside from the name, Kamala Khan has different powers than the last person who held the name Ms. Marvel.
Kamala Khan actually is a popular character.
Actually, all of them are.
I know. I'm just saying. But as far as her powers go and stuff, it's like I don't care that she has the stretch powers. Cool, because it's not like we have a bunch of other people that have the same similar powers. So that's throughout Marvel. But the other thing is that what separates her from Miles Morales and all the other ones, she's not going around saying I'm better than Captain Marvel.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, she looks up to her.
Yeah, it's
I don't
weird.
think Miles Morales is saying he's better than Spider-Man.
No, but they rarely don't have Miles interacting with Peter whatsoever, really, unless it's like a Spider-Verse event, and it's rarely they interact. But then again, like I said, I'm not reading the current Miles Morales. I just didn't like when who was it? Samadine or whatever took over his character.
Saladin Ahmed.
Yeah, in 2018, I think that was that storyline when they brought him over. I hated it. I preferred the Bendis version. He felt more separated from everyone else. He had his own pretty much at that time. If you remember, after the Ultimates, after they pretty much killed everybody, there wasn't that many heroes left, and he actually he stood up more. He wasn't just a Spider-Man clone,
Well, hopefully they'll learn their lesson when they bring the Ultimate Universe back. Put Miles in there, leave him out of the 6-1.
Did you read that though? I actually was pretty good for the first issue.
Oh, it's already out? No, I have not.
Yeah,
I haven't read any of the comics. I'm working on what is this? Batman White Knight Generation Joker. And no, I haven't read anything from last week.
That was another surprising story too. Is that Mirka and Dolfo doing the art on there, and her art got better than the last time.
Better.
Well, I'm going to say I think part of that is probably due to the fact of who really controls that book, and the editor is going to demand, top flight work from Mirka. I mean, Sean Gordon Murphy's not going to let anybody half-ass anything.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It's not him writing it, though. I guess he is credited for the story, so I'm not sure how much he's involved. But his wife writing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's his wife writing.
Yeah, so I'm sure they have lunch. They have conversations at the dinner table. So what do you think about this? She asked my ideas for the story. I'm sure they probably ask each other questions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it was her story that kind of actually really got me into the White Knight, because I started out reading the first issue of the Harley Quinn, yeah. But I was like, oh wow, this is really good. I kind of like this take on Harley Quinn. Let me go back and read White Knight, and it was like
the biggest,
awesome.
It's like the biggest middle finger retcon to DC, pretty much saying this is the Harley Quinn we want.
Patrick Sargent here is reminding us that back in the day, if a book was unpopular, it was still decent at least. There was crap back in the day, definitely in the 90s. But yeah, he's right. Even the lower seller books in the 80s and 90s, they were outselling anything from these days.
That's the thing. Somebody had asked you earlier about the books that that don't sell so well. Do they get the royalties or all? I'm thinking like eventually they probably drop that, and
well, no. I think if you like ask Joe, ask some other creators, the whole thing about royalties is there's a minimum floor that a book has to sell before they start getting royalties. I think that's the big issue. And
yeah, it is.
And again, it's kind of like where when that whole comics broke me nonsense, where most of my sympathy went out the window. Was anybody complaining about page rates, anybody complaining about royalties, because guess what? You're choosing to do that. You are actually signing an agreement, signing a contract. You should be reading it. And if you're not reading it, then you should have a lawyer or somebody you trust read it and tell you what it is. That's where, when I, once upon a time was, looking at these copyright cases, I have much more sympathy for the older creators because it wasn't as spelled out back then. And of course, there was also, no idea that, 50 years ago that, these characters could become, $1 billion, movie and, franchises and merchandising items. So, I do sympathize a little bit with kind of the Ditko estate, but, again, I would have to look more at the details in terms of what
that's one thing, actually, I got to tell you, Bob Kane did show everybody, but nobody took him up on it. Bob Kane made a sweetheart deal for himself when it came to Batman. Nobody else did. Nobody else put their foot down and said, yeah, you can have my book if this. Now, granted, it was the second hero and not the 15th or 30th, but there you go. Because when Superman made, hey, this is selling well, we need more. Bob Kane came around with Batman. Granted, there were already crime fighters and such like that already. Let's see. The letters pages in the back issues are more riveting than, you know what? Actually, I agree with that. I think that letters pages of back issues are a lot of fun. Let's see what we got going on. There was diehard fans back then, so they were more careful about what they put out. Well, Marvel had always had a habit of flooding the shelves. Okay, it's part of the paper. Maranya saying back in the day, comic book companies pulled shenanigans like putting agreements on the back of paychecks. That's when that I do believe, for as much as we like Jim Shooter, I think that was a Shooter idea, because there was a bit of an uprising about creators' rights during his tenure. And I think it was John Byrne. John Byrne backed him. Look, you're doing work for hire. Shut up. You would think that he would be more for the artists. Not so much. In comics culture now, they're always trying to do something new and different, but it's not always a good thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't really seem like they are. The only idea they have is to race or sexuality swap. That's it.
Yeah.
And otherwise, what are we getting? We're getting the next Ultimates line. Okay, we got a second Secret Wars, a second Civil War. We got another Planet Hulk. Marvel definitely has not been exactly.
Another Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and again, too, one thing with this changing landscape is Marvel and DC are no longer going to get somebody's best ideas for a character.
No.
They're going to keep those for themselves and try to cultivate that as an independent work that they fully own and control. Because, hey, that 1 in a million shot, if it actually, becomes super, super popular, you could turn that into a million, 10 million, 100 million, $1 billion idea. So if I'm doing contracted work for hire for Marvel or DC, why am I going to give them this awesome character that I thought of? I'm not.
Yeah, and it's what Brubaker and Liefeld said how they were treated after Winter Soldier and the second Deadpool, like the bad treatment they got, and why would writers want to give DC and Marvel their new better ideas? They just want to keep derivatives or similar situations, live off that,
Well, look at
cultivate
this.
an audience, and do what Snyder did with Nocterra or Tinian did with Something That's Killing the Children. Get an audience like that.
The other thing is, you got petty people who like Dan Soder there. It's like, well, I don't want to use Mayday Parker, the original one. I'm going to create my own so I get my own royalties and write a story. It's like, and then Zeb Wells trying to say, like, you know, Zeb Wells, who's the freaking stupidest editor ever, was trying to say that, oh yeah, Dan Soder created Spider-Girl.
Yeah. Now, I mean, of course, if a creator, you know, does have, you know, any kind of leverage when they're making their contract or agreement with Marvel or DC, you're definitely going to try and write something in to say, hey, if I create this character and, you know, then I want, you know, either a X percentage of any merchandising or licensing fees that come about this character, or, you know, whatever you can get, you know, from that company. But you're still not going to give them your best idea. You'll give them an okay idea, something that might entice a Hollywood executive to, you know, put that, you know, skin that character and put it into a movie or a TV show. But yeah, I mean, that's again one of the big issues that you've got with the big two right now.
I have a question for E.
What's up?
And now this is like Sophie's choice. What do you hate more, Spider-Verse or symbiotes?
Is there a C option for both?
You get to choose. You get to eliminate one of them. The choice. Which one do you get?
So I can't eliminate both and just have a single Venom.
Only one.
Spider-Man.
So when it comes to symbiotes, it's the whole kit and caboodle, the symbiote T-shirt guns and everything.
Yeah, but you lose Venom.
Say again?
You'll lose Venom.
Well, he's on a Venom
and
plan.
If I get rid of Spider-Verse, am I still keeping Spider-Man, or am I getting...
You're going to keep... So basically, if you get rid of Spider-Verse, you're only keeping Spider-Man. Only one Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Same with the vet. You'll never have any more.
Get rid of Spider-Verse. Easy peasy. I would rather keep the Venom and the Carnage and that, because I can ignore that shit. But it's hard to ignore the Spider-Verse when they bring it up every 5 seconds in Spider-Man comics anymore.
I say option C would be to bring in, just have the Spider-Verse with them all wearing symbiotes.
Well, ideas, why don't you?
No, what we finally need is, and I honestly am shocked that they have not done this yet, or maybe they have and I just haven't seen it and it's been out of mind, but how have they not had the mega event of all time of the Spider-Verse versus the symbiotes?
Hey, Anna.
There you go. Oh, okay.
So they did.
We had 23 votes on the poll. The poll was, should original creators get co-credit on legacy characters?
I love him doing the mime.
Hold on. What did I zonk out?
You're the ventriloquist right now.
Oh, really? Okay. So the poll was, should original creators get co-credit on legacy characters? And 78% of the 23 votes went to yes.
So 78% of you are wrong. Okay.
No, they're absolutely right. They are absolutely
what
right.
I'm dealing with. So, I'm sorry, Evil Black Cat. You said they've already done that.
I think they did that.
Yeah, because see, I can almost. I will say this: you could make it interesting if you did it as a contest style.
Steam, you're just caught up to everything you just said. It was Frozen, and you just did Godzilla. Everything was just like quiet afterwards.
I thought he was actually doing that to just make fun of us. I didn't know.
No, that was StreamYard. It was so frozen while he was speaking. It finally, after he stopped looking at the poll, it sped up. They show everything he would have been saying, but there's no audio.
There you go. It's the ventriloverse, as Dave's saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get rid of the background.
If not, I think we just gave Donny Cates his next idea.
Yeah.
Depends how long he's at.
Well, it's possible.
What is Cates even doing for Marvel? I thought he's just over at Image. I know.
Anybody collect stamps?
No, he's just moping around after his wife.
Are these actually 1970 stamps?
My grandfather and my aunt used to collect stamps, and
they could be, or they could be like a 30th anniversary commemorative. It's hard to tell. Yeah,
I got this envelope. There was a comic book in it. By the way, I love getting comics in a manila envelope that has no backing board, or any kind of. It's just in a yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
How many spine ticks did it come with?
Thankfully,
it's weird. It came with this letter and this these slides, from this the roll of film.
Thankfully, just one. It travels the entire length of the book, but there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about something different here. I haven't read this, and sometimes that ends up petering out like it's nothing great or anything. But you guys might have heard that everybody and their brother, as far as entertainment companies, are pulling out of the San Diego Comic-Con, which is kind of leading a lot of people saying, "You mean it's going to be about comics again?" Which, even though Sony doesn't pull out, doesn't mean there isn't going to be a whole bunch of celebrities accepting their $100,000.
Guys, it's good to pull out once in a while.
That's the only birth control there is. So I saw this. I saw this article and I thought, okay, I like the title. Let's see what it's all about here. And it's called "I'd Love an Existential Threat Like the One that San Diego Comic-Con is Facing." All righty. So I figured, okay, let's go through this, see what it has to say. It goes on. It's the end of June, so it must be time for an inevitable annual San Diego Comic-Con, but it's about to collapse upon itself. Articles. Okay. Or is that what they're collecting? All right, let's see. It's the end of June, so it must be time for the inevitable annual San Diego Comic-Con is about to collapse upon itself and leave a smoking crater by jowl to the Pacific articles that have been running for the past couple of decades. Well, it's kind of like every time a superhero movie comes out. Is superhero fatigue set in? With the Flash, maybe so. But Spider-Man proves no. Okay, so anyway, let's see. And right on cue on Friday, Variety published a story by Adam B. Very that because of the writer's strike and reluctance of actors to promote any show being if it's going on this story, then why don't we just go to the horse's in mouth? I'm sorry about that, kids.
No, that's okay. No, while you were doing that, I was just curious. I went to look to see if they had the program posted yet for Comic-Con, and they don't. But so if people are familiar, the big hall where all the quote unquote like big events or programs happen is Hall H.
Well, let's read on here. For 2 years, the biggest annual fan convention in North America was forced to cancel the 5-day gathering due to COVID. Placing Comic-Con International, a nonprofit organization that runs SDCC, under unprecedented financial strain. Last year, San Diego Comic-Con came roaring back with a masked and vaccinated, I wouldn't have gone, convention that was robust success with blockbuster Hall H panels for Star Trek TV universe, House of the Dragon, The Walking Dead, and especially Marvel Studios. This year, Comic-Con, which is scheduled to start July 19th, less than a month away, is increasingly likely to have none of those panels. At least that's what studios across the industry are anticipating if SAG, AFTRA, and AMPTP cannot come to terms by June 30th. Okay, so here's a question. Would they be crossing the line if an actor goes to Comic-Con? They're not acting. They're being paid to be themselves and saying hello.
Well, the problem is nobody wants to be blackballed because if like the whole writer strike, if someone
Been
decides to
there,
go
done that,
writer,
hurts.
And the same thing when we've had like freaking like our for winter we have the plows go around. We had one company decided we're gonna go on strike, so they hired more people, and then those people were basically harassed. So I can see with today's the way the divas are on like the other writers, I can see them if somebody decides what, I'm gonna go write because and hey.
If you're a writer on a writer's strike, now's the time to really focus on that script or novel. So when the strike is over, you have shit going when it comes out. Let's see. Amid that uncertainty, several studios have preemptively nixed plans for a robust presence at San Diego Comic-Con. Disney and its subsidiaries, Marvel Studios and Lucasfilms, are not planning any panels, cutting off the chance to showcase the cast for upcoming projects like the Marvel's Loki Season 2, Ahsoka, Haunted Mansion, which has True Detective Season 4 soon, or HBO, I'm sorry. House of Dragon Season 2 still in production, isn't going, nor are any Sony pictures with Gran Turismo, Kraven the Hunter this year, and Universal Pictures, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Strays, and The Exorcist this year. And Netflix, which just held its massive TODD fan event in Brazil, where it debuted first looks at the big budget genre series, including One Piece. Other studios are still maintaining a wait-and-see posture. Warner Brothers, which needs a robust PR boost for upcoming DC features Blue Beetle and Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom, has yet to rule out skipping Comic-Con, and the company's streaming service, Max, is planning on bringing some animation titles to the convention. Once again, you're not acting. Nothing new is under the sun when they're doing this.
Correct, but I would say most contracts, are, have the promotion piece in there. So for instance, an actor or writer could certainly go to Comic-Con as a fan, but they couldn't participate in a panel to promote or talk about, any project.
Yeah, but
so that's what you're kind of seeing here.
Yeah,
They could go as themselves and take pictures and sign autographs.
And
honestly,
could go
as a fan.
This would be the perfect way for all the conservative actors out there, writers, or stuff, to go out there and promote themselves, and show, because this is basically, like I said, I think it's dumb that unless you're going out there, like I said, if you're gonna go out there and promote a movie like Ryan Reynolds not gonna go out there and promote Deadpool 3. He's not legally can't do that, but he can go out there and just as Deadpool if he wants to, but not as Deadpool 3.
Up there and go, Mint Mobile, people. Don't forget to
I think there's probably an exception in there, because I'm going to assume that none of the panels that celebrate the 20th anniversary of X or the 30th anniversary of this show or remembering blah blah blah, I don't think those are affected. So for example, I think maybe you could get around it if you had a hey, let's take and look back on Daredevil on Deadpool. Nobody wants to look back on the Daredevil movie per se. But look back on Deadpool. Now, again, you'd have to make sure that it's focused totally on talking about the original Deadpool movie or Deadpool 2 and not, talk anything about Deadpool 3. But that's just speculation on my part.
Well, that's the same thing. The people that would actually do well there would be Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum doing the Smallville stuff, Smallville Nights. You could even have original comic book writers who aren't even writing with them. You could have Chuck Dixon, Mike Barron, even Ethan Van Sciver if you really want to see him, going to these things.
What's Mike Barron going to do with Comic-Con after he dies? What do you think? Okay, so anywho, let me continue here.
I don't know.
Paramount Pictures are expected to hold a panel for the animated feature Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, but it's streamed. By the way, that looks like shit. I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Yeah, it's closeted, but I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, and that movie looks like shit. I forgave Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #3. Once again, it's not a great movie, but it's not complete trash. This movie looks like complete trash. Absolutely trash.
I would rather watch the Michael Bay ones just for Megan Fox than watch this trash.
I would too. In the absence of okay, hold on. Blah, 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 blah. In the absence of panels, some studios may lean on activations and promotional stunts outside of San Diego Convention Center to generate fan interest, but that's cold comfort to San Diego Comic-Con itself, which has thrived for over a decade on steady stream of A-listers and marquee projects streaming through its cavernous ballrooms. Get some comic creators in Comic-Con. I mean, right here, Cartoons is saying Ripa could go there. SDCC died like during the pandemic. We can't go back because it's impossible now, and Disney has lost $900 million market. We don't even know how Warner Bros. Is in trouble too. But I will tell you what, man. Yeah, get Ripa. He's obviously proven that people are interested in his comics. Get Ethan Van Sciver. Talk about Tim and Mark. Yes, get them. Right there, that's an excellent panel, even though there might be a fist fight afterwards.
Bring in manga writers.
There you go.
Oh, I mean,
have it be about comics again, but you could have a great panel on doing your own book versus working for the big
I don't mind having celebrities like the yesterday, like the ones from the original Star Trek, William Shatner, all those. They're at big Comic-Con. And what I don't like is when they have shows like House of Dragon. You have nothing to do with anything that's Comic-Con. That's not be at the Comic-Con where it's no. I understand they want to promote new stuff, but it becomes all about them, all the new stuff coming out. And I guess that's their outlet for advertising their movies. But I actually, Comic-Con, it would be a great thing. All 3 days, you just browse around and go into different comic book vendors.
That's actually what that's my Comic-Con.
Well, I know talking to people like, if you talk to Yule and stuff, I mean, most of your, comic book shop vendors have gotten squeezed out of Comic-Con. It's only going to be like the largest companies, the ones who can afford, the tables, but, Funko Pop, obviously has a giant presence there. Every toy manufacturer does. So it'll be interesting to see. The fact that they had to make a statement to say, oh yeah, no, the Comic-Con's still going to go on, shows just how, just far it's fallen from what Comic-Con originally was.
Let me finish this out. It says, when reached by Variety, Comic-Con spokesperson David Glanzer provided a statement. Shit's gonna hit the fan now. That avoids saying anything. That's not what you actually said. For those of you who needed to know it, for the podcast people.
Yeah.
That avoids saying anything definitive about how SDCC may look in the wake of an actor's strike, but does make clear the organizers expect to go on with the event regardless. With regard to the strike and its possible effects on Comic-Con, we tend to refrain from speculation or forecasting. I will say our hope is for a speedy resolution that will prove beneficial to all parties and allow everyone to continue the work they love. Until then, we continue to diligently work on our summer event in the hopes of making it as fun and educational and celebratory as in years past. Okay. Any studio holdouts will have to make a decision very soon. Schedules will start rolling out on July 5th. I was actually thinking about this whole panel thing because my dream is to really rent one of these smaller halls at the MegaCon down here and do a show. Just let's do it. Let's do a show. Let's have people come up and ask questions and talk about their comics and so forth and so on. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'm not enough of a draw. I think I would end up talking to an empty hall, but I think it would be really cool. Maybe get somebody coming in as an interview. But I think a lot of people and I've heard this at MegaCon as well, want it to be about the comics again, because it's so much about the fact that, we got this movie star and we got that movie star. And I love the extra stuff as well. I love going down Artist Alley and you see people putting their own things up. I saw this girl made a silverware set where she painted Marvel and DC characters on the spoons and everything. So if you ever wanted to eat your soup off of Batman's ass, there it was, I like that kind of stuff. There was a guy who makes custom statues. That's people who are cosplayers, not the. I don't know. I'm just I don't I'm not impressed by a lot of the what they say the professional. Basically, it's a look at my boobs cosplayers. You know the ones I'm talking about. They're like it's not so much that they like to dress up; it's that they know that if they show off their boobs, simps are going to send them money.
I want to quickly respond to Ash's comment about this. He says that San Diego Comic Con actually has a lot of comics. I think people just forget how big it is. True. I've never been there, never seen one. But whenever I look at a panel, it just seems like it's just no matter what Comic Con it is. A lot of them, it just focus on these are the celebrities or the panels who are going to promote their new movies or new TV shows.
There was a documentary a few years back where, and it was about San Diego Comic Con, and even Mile High Comics, one of the most popular comic shops for as shitty as they are, the freaking pervs. They were talking about how it just isn't worth it anymore. It's not worth it to go to San Diego Comic Con because the comic books are ignored. As far as you're going to find what do you call it? An exception to every rule. You're going to find somebody, but for the most part, Mile High Comics, when they start saying, you know what it is, it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, Comic Cons should only be basically to promote either new comic books or have people selling the original stuff at there, because when you allow comic book stores or vendors come in, they're able to basically buy perfect example. There's this guy. Whenever if we have the state fair or we have a Comic Con down here in Milwaukee or near Chicago, this guy comes in the comic book store, buys a ton of supplies, as far as the dividers or backing boards, and he's buying all that instead of going to basically online eBay. That's a big. So he's supporting the actual local comic book store, and I really like that, and I feel like that they should be all about promoting your LCS because they're the ones that sell your books. They can.
Go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna say, it should all be about moving the product. I mean, Comic Cons obviously you got to bring in stars. I mean, if that's the point, you have to bring in celebrities to push your Comic Con stuff because you feel like no one's gonna come otherwise. Then it's your books. Get your books in order.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you that I think it should only be about comics. I mean, our comic shops can't stay open based on only comics. So I welcome all sorts of geekery,
then change the name. Don't call it Comic Con.
Bring in the Dungeons and Dragons players, the whole 9 yards. I mean, they go hand in hand.
Sure. I mean, the game's like an RPG stuff. I'm just saying your main focus, if you're going to call it a Comic Con, should be about comic books.
Well, so I mean, here's what happened. I mean, and not to completely defend the SDCC people, because I think there's a lot of questionable characters in there, but it was responding to the shift in the fans. So they had a decent comic book or science fiction focused convention, and then as it kind of got more popular, and I know I heard recently, I forget, somebody mentioned like who the first TV or movie was that was there. It got a huge reception, and that started to change the flow of people who became interested to going to the convention. And that's when the shift started from less of being about comics and science fiction to pop culture and influencers and wanting to be seen. And so when Mile High is talking about it's not worth it for them, it's because most of the people that are, or a good majority of the people that are attending, aren't really comic book fans. They're pop culture fans. Their Marvel stuff comes from the Marvel movies and TV shows. They're more interested in hearing about True Blood or Buffy the Vampire Slayer than Captain America or Iron Man. It's just, and so they just kind of responded. They're in a tough situation now because at one point they were thinking about moving out of San Diego, and then was able to make a deal with the city that expanded the convention center, and they promised a bunch of stuff. And then of course 2 years, and really it should have only been 1 year, but because they were in California, they got they got screwed and went along with Newsom, which is why it was canceled for 2 years. And then even last year still having masking and vaccination requirements. I mean, whatever. you know, they're in a kind of a tough place. So it's going to be interesting to see what transpires this year, because the organization that runs San Diego also does have WonderCon, which originally was in the Bay Area, and then when they bought it, they moved it down to Southern California. I think it's in Anaheim now, and they've also put a ton of money into the Comic-Con Museum, which is, I believe, in San Diego as well. So they've got a lot riding on, what was supposed to be kind of like the first, return back to normal type Comic-Con in 4 years.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of stuff, like you have MegaCon. They don't call it Comic-Con; they call it MegaCon because it's everything, all of it. It's like you said, pop culture, all this stuff. Plus, there's some comic books there too. And there's a lot. The big draw I've always known has been celebrities, whether and cosplayers too. No, that's a big thing too, especially in San Diego. All I see is cosplay stuff now. I'm surprised. I've never been to some of these. So I don't know what the cosplay ratio is to the actual people actually like coming and buying comic books, or are they dressing up buying comic books?
Let's see.
They're not buying comic books at all.
Cartoons and Comics is wanting a Comicsgate panel with Eric July, ZACK, EVS Razor. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
we just named different names.
Well, you just had one this past weekend at the Garden State Comic Convention in New Jersey. If you looked at Twitter and saw some of the pictures, and of course, one creator tried to get Comics Gators canceled out of the convention and got up on Twitter, thankfully.
Frank Miller last year.
Yeah, well, Scott Kurtz, the 500-pound creator of PvP, which I stopped reading, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, has just become a real bitter, nasty individual who hates anybody and anything to do with Comicsgate, and of course would hate all of us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Put out a tweet, I think it was on Thursday or something, about oh, should I contact this convention to try and get these people canceled? I was just like, what are you doing, you idiot? And so thankfully it was nice to see blowback. But I know also there's been like Comicsgate type panels. I think Anime Matsuri, that's I think in Houston. I know like Eric July was recently in the Dallas Comic Con. So they're starting to pop up more and more.
Can you, Cash? Can you expand more on that? Comic-Con is so hard to get these days. It's not just full of casuals.
Oh yeah, Comic-Con is ridiculously hard to get into. So what you have to do is
employers.
You first have to sign up to get a Comic-Con registration ID, and then so the convention's in July. Usually, the first wave of badges go on sale. God, what was that?
So you're talking about people just going in and want to walk around.
January or February. Well, no, you have to have a badge. I mean, it's one
badges. We don't need no badges.
Yeah, you do. One price for everything, and it's a complete lottery system. So they'll announce a week or two ahead of time of the date that the badges go on sale, and you have to be at your computer and you have to register your ID at least the week prior. And then on the day of, you have to log in and get in the lobby, and then you just wait. And you wait and hope your number gets called. I tried for about 3 or 4 years in a row to get badges to go to Comic-Con and never succeeded. And so this would have been probably around like 2010
that sounds horrible.
2016. Yeah, it's.
I've never been interested.
It got pretty bad. And actually, if you get still on the website now, I mean, what's really, I'm going to say, kind of insidious a little bit is they have what they call open registration and then returning registration. And so you get a little second bite at the apple if you've ever successfully gone to Comic-Con. Then you're eligible for returning registration. So yeah, it's really tough and no guarantee to get in unless you happen to know an exhibitor who can, kind of get you a badge. So as I see under Quinn saying, yeah, it's definitely turned into a Comics Insider.
Got it. It's like South Park when they had the manatees or choosing what was going to be the plot for that Sir Simpsons or Family Guy, what it was.
Yeah. I mean, the closest thing that I've been to was I went to PAX East 1 year, which was the Penny Arcade Expo. And that was a similar thing in terms of kind of a lottery system, and you had to get online that day to get your badge, and they sold out usually within that day. And that was a lot of fun. That was also, God, that was like 10 years ago now.
Well, what I'd say, if it's that popular, limit to you're only allowed to come one day, so we have other people can get a chance to go.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, they do limit it in terms of, there's only so many like 4-day passes. So I think they do like 4-day passes. I think they do weekend passes, and then they have individual day passes. And also,
so if you went
I still remember, one time, being in the lobby and kind of just watching the messages as I'm sitting there, waiting, half hour later. Oh, sorry, all the 4-day passes are gone. Oh, all the Saturday passes are gone.
Also, if you went last year, you have to wait a year before you're eligible to go again. So make it so people actually have a chance to go. Now we're waiting 5 years. I've waited. Finally go, and then I get sick.
I'm fine with my MegaCon, guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Does Indiana have Comic-Cons?
Oh well, they've actually they've got Comic-Cons, but they also have Dragon Cons in Atlanta. They've got a big role-playing gaming convention.
Yeah, it's in Gary. You just go there, and
it's in Indianapolis.
Do they serve American food in Indiana? Have they heard of Thai food?
I would say go to Chicago Comic-Con.
Yeah,
I don't want to go to Chicago for nothing. I'm good.
Chicago for nothing.
Chicago. Yeah, I'm
Gen
good with that.
Con, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Gen Con is in Indianapolis.
Well, I mean, they do have the adult expo there too. So if you don't like to go to Comic-Con, you can. Let's go look at porn stars.
I'm good. I don't know. But there you go. Look, I know like I said, I've got my MegaCon. I know they've got a lot of celebrities coming in. I got to admit, I've never gotten I walked up and I talked and shook hands and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to pay a lot of money for an autograph or anything like that. If it looks like it's slow, I'll step up to have a conversation or something. I talked to Jason Mewes the last time, but yeah, it's when there's nothing to do and they're just hanging out. I don't go when there's a long line for anything. I just refuse to
fucking pay. The great thing is that instead of me trying to like go to San Diego Comic-Con, just watch it online. Half of those panels are always online, so I never have to worry about even going to California. I can just stay here where I am in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes they are. It kind of depends. Well, it ultimately depends on who's putting the panel on and whether or not they want it televised. I know, like for instance,
I mean, like fans recording on their phones.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there's always, unless they decide, hey, you can't bring your phones into the con anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, darn it, we're not going to get to see that big timeline on the screen for Marvel this year. Gosh darn it!
I know.
The only thing that'd probably be worth it would be going to if they had a not Smallville, but the Lois and Clark panel. Because that show's actually been really decent.
Oh,
it is pretty. Yeah, it's pretty good.
You mean the Kents?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's not a Superman show.
Well, we don't. I mean, what is Kal-El's last name? L?
Yes, it is Cal.
Look at his last name, I guess. We call him the L's? The LKs?
Right. All righty. I think we're getting done here. Anyway, kids, there you go.
Well, what are tickets? $500?
Oh, for
For San Diego?
For San Diego, let me see if they still got price
they can't
posted.
be $500.
The con experience, having to find where you're gonna park, having to pay all that money, being around people who probably smell, or people who might be sick, coughing somewhere, or just all these different policies there. Where if I don't want to watch one panel, I look up to have it online. I'd say I win.
Let's see. So the 2023 badge prices. Let's see. Preview night is $55. Thursday $75. Thursday, Friday, Saturday are $75, and Sunday is $50. So I figure the 4-day pass is gonna be $150. Is probably about $200 would be my guess. I don't think they're going to give you that much of a discount.
We have like $30 for Thursday, and then Friday is like $45, and then Saturday's $60, and Sunday's $50.
Who said hating cons is the fault of San Diego Comic-Con? No one said hating cons is.
Who said anything about hating conventions?
No, I just said I said I luck out if it's online versus paying $500 or whatever for tickets.
Okay.
You know?
No,
Yeah,
I don't even want to pay $20.
I do like going to MegaCon.
$500 for experience, yeah, sure, one-time thing, and then I have to go fix my car.
Yeah, I like to go. I like to take pictures of the convention, the cosplayers. I'll walk by the celebrities. Like I said, if they're empty, I'll go up and say something. But mostly for me, Comic-Cons are artist alley. Let me see what everybody else is doing, the independent comic book creators. And I like to talk to comic book artists and writers. That's why I go. And then, of course, shopping on Sunday.
I haven't been to cons, but I've been to Summerfest. I've been to State Fair over here where they're crowded. Now, imagine going to cons that might be even more crowded.
Yeah.
And then there's no room for you to walk. It's like being in a flea market.
Yeah, I hate that. I actually tell people when it comes to theme parks, don't come during Christmas. Christmas is insanely busy. Yeah. And I tell people it's unenjoyably busy. If it gets that many people in it, man, you're not having fun. You really. And then
the worst thing I hate the most is when you're trying to look at like books, the box, and then someone's standing next to you trying to push you over because they want to look at the box too. As they're going around, like, dude, you're gonna wait. I'm here. I'm going through every single freaking book.
You're standing there nice and comfortable with a good leg spread gait, and somebody comes in, and all of a sudden it's like.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go, I've got to share something with you here.
Share away.
Well, because one of the other things that San Diego Comic-Con has done is it is illegal for you to try and resell your pass. If you can't go, you have to turn it in. And so what Comic-Con has been doing is, I just saw is they have an official channel on eBay where they sell returned passes. So let me show you the current eBay prices here if you want to go to Comic-Con. Whoops, wrong one.
Or if you want a Marvel animated Spider-Man bust.
Yeah, if you want a Marvel animated Spider-Man. Let me try this again. Share screen.
Are you going for the bust or the mug?
Here we go. So currently there's 12 results. If you
Fuck me.
Two 4-day passes with preview night passes is currently $1,375.
And people are bidding on it. This isn't just some crazy motherfucker going, "Hey, I want this much."
13 bids, and there's 4 days left on the auction.
It's so much worth it. I don't even need Spider-Man.
This one, 780, 830, 740, 740, 895. So I mean here now 0 bids. So it looks like they're starting out the price at $720. So you're talking 2 4-day passes. So if we looked at the prices before, it was 75, 75, 75, which is $225, 50 for Sunday, which is $275, and then it was $55 for preview night. So that's $330. So they're actually charging like an extra $100 in terms of like a premium almost on this. But yeah, so if you haven't gotten your Comic-Con passes yet, this is the only way that you can get them from quote unquote a secondary market. Because yeah, when you get the stuff, and that's one other thing too, is let's say you're trying to get a group of 3 or 4, say 4 friends to go. Each person has to register an ID on the Comic-Con website, and I think have to try and get their own ticket. Or I know you're only allowed to purchase up to like 2 or maybe 4, for once. But everybody has to have their own ID. You have to put your own information in. That's how they track and control it to prevent.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of my Comic-Con now.
And secondary markets.
I've never been San Diego hack. I've never been, oh, I got to cross. It's not Mecca to me.
Yeah.
There
you go.
It always seemed a bit overpriced. Now, granted, I've been to MegaCon every year for the last 20-something years, but since they started it, but it's just, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, that's just an old wives' tale with cons. Come on now, not everybody.
It's like a popular nightclub. Nobody's allowed in.
Well, no, he said they need right guard or degree to go to these cons and hand out those travel-sized deodorants.
Oh my gosh, there are some people who are very much like that. And God bless the cosplayers, but you put on spandex, you start smelling like ass.
Sure, San Diego. I would say San Diego Comic-Con might be more popular. You cannot deny it's popular, but you're also California, so there's inflation. It's fuck.
Oh yeah, so especially getting the badge for Comic-Con is just step 1 of the journey. Then you have to secure a hotel room.
I'm good.
Good luck.
Nope, I'm good. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. That's our take on everything. What'd you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys don't mind when the thing's posted here, just saying hello or give a little bit of what you thought of all of the proceedings. It'll help out the algorithm. Otherwise, let's see, tomorrow. Oh, and if you want to contribute, we do have a Ko-Fi. The link is in the description below. Tomorrow, we have a Geeky Puppet Show talking about the best things that are coming out on Wednesday, right?
The books that me and Zach are most anticipating as far as we want to read.
All right.
It's basically our guess is what is going to be the best books we read this week. And then we follow it up at the same time, 8 p.m. Central on Thursday. And then we find out. And then we also show off what else stuff we bought at the comic book store. Because when you go to the comic book store, you never buy what you think you're going to buy. You always buy more. At least I do. Back issues, man. I have a $1 box. So,
there you go.
So I go over there. I'm there for like an hour or two. I'm like,
so make sure you check out the Geeky Puppet Show. Also, they did a couple of readings yesterday, Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah, Spider-Man number 19. Wow, like I said, reading those older comic books, I just have more fun with those.
They're a ton of fun, and plus, I know you guys don't exactly take them seriously.
Oh
so
no! What do you mean? We take them seriously. They're so serious, enjoyable because El Clay, that one you said you like, Spider-Man. You were waiting for it to just get done with that reading. That's over 200 views, man.
Awesome, because LK didn't show.
Yeah.
Either way, guys, thanks for hanging out. Going over to Geeky Puppet Show tomorrow. Check them out. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good time.
Night, everybody.